So hello and welcome to the first weekly online art project, which is beautiful birds. I am going to do some drawing first, and then I'm going to show you a collage picture of your bird that you might try doing. And then this is here just because it's a tin foil and tissue and masking tape and wire bird sculpture. So that's going to be the third thing. But I'm going to start with drawing the birds, and I'm going to do just a quick demonstration of how you might draw a toucan. So you'll have these handouts that I've attached to the emails when I've sent you this information, and they will suggest you might want to draw a toucan or a flamingo or an oriole. I'm going to have a go at the toucan. The toucan is an extraordinary bird with that huge beak. And I'm going to do it here, and I'm going to go through the stages that are on the handout. So I would start by doing some simple shapes. So the body of the toucan is a kind of oval. The head could be another sort of oval, overlapping like that. And then this fantastic huge beak is a sort of almond shape, leaf shape. Now, if I can teach you anything about drawing, I think the most useful thing I could teach you is when you start a drawing, I'm using pencil, don't press too hard. So these shapes that I've put down that are sort of toucan shapes, because I haven't pressed too hard, I can change them and I can draw on top of them and I'm not stuck with them. So that's the next thing that you see on the handout, is with this oval of the body and oval or circle for the head, now have another go at the outline. And still don't press too hard, but try and see if you can join up those shapes. So where the body meets the head, it's more like that. Then the front of the beak could come down like this. And then the beak is a slightly different shape from my leaf shape. It's a bit more like that. And the top part of the beak is bigger. The bottom part is a bit smaller. But you'll see that if you look at these handouts that I've given you, and you see that I'm encouraging you to start with those simple shapes, but to change them. And I've shown you on the handouts how to change them. So I think that's a better shape than the first ovals and circles. Then what I've suggested is that you try and find the eye. And again, do it. Don't press too hard at the beginning, because if you don't like what you've done, you can change it. It's easier to rub it out. But I haven't rubbed out any of my starting lines yet, because I want to make sure that I'm happy with all the new lines that I put down. And then I'm going to give it some feet. One leg there. It's not always easy to do their claws because it depends what they're doing. I think there's probably a claw at the back there. And this leg comes out of well, it's like a pair of trousers, but it's not really trousers. It comes out of the hand. Well, anyway, it comes out of that bit of the bird. And then maybe it's on some sort of a trunk branch like that. And lastly, I'm just going to do the top of the wing a bit like that. So those are the new lines that I did. Started with the simple shapes, now I've done some new lines, and now I could press a bit harder. And if I like all of this, if I'm really happy with my new lines, I've pressed harder. I've also put on some of the markings. Because they've got a sort of white belly and a white face. Yeah, so I've gone over the lines that I like much more strongly. So then the lines that I don't want, which are fairly faint, I can rub most of them out. Sometimes it doesn't matter. The toucan has quite a lot of black on it, so it may be that you don't have to rub out all the lines. You're going to end up, when you put colour on, you're going to end up filling it in with black. So I think everything else you need to know about that stage probably is on the handout. So you'll take away the lines you don't want, and then you can put some colour in. So you might have, this is just my lead pencil. So it might be nice to find a really black pencil because it's such a black bird. It's got a black body, and it's got some lovely blue in the eye. And it's got a yellow part around the eye. And then the beak is a mixture of quite a lot of yellow. And I think there's some orange in the beak down here. And depending on, you should look at some pictures, look at some photographs of toucans. You do get some amazing varieties of colour in there. I think there's a bit of black in the beak. So that might be what you'll do next. Once you're happy with your drawing and you've strengthened it, you might try putting some colour in. I'm going to pause this now because I'm going to show you the next thing that I suggest you do with your birds, the birds project, and that's going to be to draw out your bird again, and this time instead of colouring it in, putting some tissue and collage paper on to make feathers. So I did a toucan. There's also a handout with a flamingo and an oriole, so you might try another bird as well. So the next thing I'm going to suggest you try, a different kind of picture of one of your birds, is going to be to use some papers, some coloured papers and some glue, and to make a collage picture. So I've drawn out my toucan again, so maybe it's been helpful. I hope I've been able to teach you something about how to draw these particular birds. If you've drawn a toucan and you'd like to do it again, do what I've done, which is to draw it out again more strongly, just the outline. But you might think, boring, I've drawn a toucan already, I want to do something different. Well, then maybe do the flamingo. Draw out the lines of the flamingo and have it ready like this as a kind of outline drawing. And then instead of putting colour on with pencils or paint, I'm going to suggest you put it on with paper. So I think I'm going to do, I'll do some of the black first. So I think I'll just put down a bit of glue. Got a glue stick. So I'll put the glue on first, and then I'm tearing out bits of paper, just very roughly. And I'm going to put them down where the toucan has its black markings. You can do it in different ways. You can put the glue on the paper, or you can put the glue on the drawing, or you can put it on the bits of paper that you stick down. But it's actually really nice to make a picture like this where you build up the colour in areas. And I think here for the toucan has got some yellow around the eye, and I think I'm going to put the yellow down first. Put the yellow down first, then I'm going to cut out an eye and put it on top. So this is an interesting way of putting colour into your picture, because you might start with some outlines and then you might find your outlines disappear a bit and you've got to get them back. Although that's clever, that's a bit of tissue, so I can still see the eye through there. And on a bit more black. And I think this can work well for birds, because when you stick down this paper, it starts to look a bit like feathers. It's a drawing that's it's a bit more three-dimensional because of the way you build it up. And you will probably have really good ideas about what papers work well as feathers. And you won't necessarily have smooth, flat bits of paper. You might build them up so that they stand out from the page and start to look more and more like the texture that feathers create. So I'll pause that while I do a little bit more to make sure you've got the idea. So I've done a little bit more to my toucan. I find the tissue paper is actually quite good to give a feathery quality to the picture, and it's also quite easy to fold over if you don't tear it to the right shape. And I've been showing you tearing rather than cutting, because you often get much nicer edges and shapes to the paper when you tear it. And I've just got that piece now for that part of the beak. This is a napkin which seems to be 2 bits of paper, so it needs more glue. So that's how I was going to deal with the beak. And lastly, I just wanted to show you for the eye, I have cut out from some blue paper a circle of blue, and I'm folding that in half, and out of that circle I'm going to cut a smaller circle with my ridiculously large scissors. Because when I've looked at some of the pictures of toucans, my scissors is too big. When I've looked at some lovely pictures of toucans, they have got amazing colours. Some of them I saw had a sort of blue, turquoise blue eye, so I thought that's what I wanted to do to my toucan, and I might even put some black in the middle of that. But that's how I thought I would work with the eye. So I did the yellow first, then I've done the blue, then I might put a little bit of black in the middle. And I thought also, when I looked at some of the pictures, their legs also were quite bluish. And this is quite a nice thing you can do with this collage technique. If you can't find exactly the right colour, try it with a piece of paper that you think isn't exactly the right colour. And you often find it works really well. And you end up with some colours you didn't expect, which are even better than the right colours. So that's the collage bird, not finished, and you'll finish yours. You'll take a little bit longer than me. And then lastly, I'm going to show you how to make a bird sculpture. And guess what? I'm going to do a toucan again, but you might change your birds over the course of the project. So the next bit of the project is making a sculpture, but it may be that you haven't yet done your drawings or your collage bird. So you could always pause the video and do those things, and then come back and watch the next bit about the sculpture. Or you can watch the whole thing and watch it a few times. So the sculpture is going to be made with some tin foil. So I've got a big piece, noisy tin foil, some newspaper which is going to go inside, and then some masking tape. Now I hope you've got masking tape. If not, you could probably use sellotape. And I've just torn off bits of masking tape, or you could get a grown-up to tear some bits of masking tape for you so that your hands are free and you can just use that. And the way it works, we've got a big piece of tissue of tin foil. Tin foil is great for making sculptures because you can crunch it up and you can shape it, but you don't want to crunch it up too much. So if you have a couple of bits of newspaper in the middle, it'll stop it getting too squashed. I'm going to, if you look at the picture of the toucan, I think almost halfway, the neck is almost halfway along the body because it's got such a huge beak, and then it's got its body and it's got its tail. So with my bit of tin foil, I'm thinking that this half is going to be the head and the beak, and this is going to be the body. So I'm putting a bit of tin foil, a bit of newspaper in the middle there, because that's going to be the body. And as I say, you can shape it a bit. That's going to be the tail. But I'm not going to squash it too much, because in here is where I want to have the beak. And I think rather than a scrunched up bit of paper, newspaper, I'm just going to fold this into a bit more of a sort of triangle, something that'll have some strength to it. So that's the shape I've made, and that's going to go in there for the beak, so that I can flatten my tin foil a bit. So that's the kind of shape. It doesn't look like much of a toucan, but can you see that's where the body is? I might need more for the tail, but I can add something on. This is the head. I'm squashing it a bit. I won't have too much of a neck, and then this is going to be the beak. And as I've said, you want to squash it a bit, but don't squash it too much. And you might find if you can spare the tin foil, you might do this more than once. Sometimes the first time you do it, you squash it too much. But that I'm happy with for my head and my body, and I'm sorry that my tail is a bit short, so I'll have to add something on for the tail. So there's my head, and here's my beak. And the beak is flat, but the head is a bit round. And I'm going to keep folding that over because the beak's got a distinctive shape. It's a bit pointy down like that. So that's going to be my toucan. I hope you can see that well enough. Now the tin foil on its own is still a bit soft. Even raise its head, look, you can move its head around if you want. It's going to be a bit soft, so that's where the masking tape comes in. Some of the areas, like here, I want to get a bit of tape across it. In fact, I might even put some tape on the beak, so I'm still just sort of working out what its covering is going to be. And then once I've got a bit of tape on, I'm also going to start putting some of my papier-mâché, which is really tissue and glue. And in order for that tissue and glue to stick, I need to have something for it to stick to. It won't really stick very well to the tin foil. So I'm getting some bits of masking tape. So having shaped my tin foil and wrapped a bit of masking tape around it, I said sellotape might do, but I think masking tape is the best because things will stick to it. So I hope you can find some masking tape. Having done that, I'm now going to put some tissue and some papers on with some PVA glue. So I've got a bit of PVA glue here. And I'm going to start by, I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the yellow on the beak and wrap it all around. And actually I might get some yellow also on the head, because I don't know if you, yes, you can see my picture how there's yellow under the eye. So I'm just going to cover all of that with yellow, then I'm going to put some black on. So with this, I can just get a bit of glue onto the bird. And try not to squash it too much, because I've explained to you that you can quite easily flatten and over squash your tin foil. The good thing is once you've done this with the glue and the paper, when that's dried, it dries hard, so actually you won't be able to squash your tin foil after that. So long as you can keep the tin foil to the shape that you want it to be until you get on the glue and the tissue or the glued on paper. After that, it's going to be strong enough. So I've just covered that with some yellow. It's a bit like colouring in the main colour. And I can still shape that because I've got quite a nice shape for the beak using the tin foil. And so I better put that And you see I'm doing quite a lot of shaping with my brush. If I get some glue onto the brush, I can smooth out some of that tissue. So the shapes that I got in the tin foil are still there. So that's a pretty good beak. I like that beak. So that's the beak. Then I've torn out another bit of black paper, which I'm going to put on the head here. I should try and have my picture where you can see it, so you can see how that's quite round. I've made a round tear there, and this time I think I might put the glue actually onto the tissue. You'll work out which way works best for you. Whoops. Got some glue on there, and this is going to go on top of the head like that. So I'm working a bit with my drawing. And you don't have to be too perfect about this, because you can eventually, if the black's gone too far, I'm going to put a bit of black down here as well. In fact, I probably should have gone further forward. Anyway, I'm going to put some black down here and black under there and some white under here. So you don't have to get each shape exactly right. You can change them as you go along. So that's to show you how you're going to put on the paper. So I'm going to pause my film a minute while I do a little bit more, so you don't have to watch me do everything. I'll get a bit more black on, then I might do the black line down here and stick on an eye, and then I'll explain about the legs. So I'm going to do some more things. I covered the main areas of black and yellow, and now I just want to do, I want to get the line, there's a line of black, keep covering up, in front of the eye, along the edge of the beak. I think I might be able to do that a bit like this. I've been tearing these bits of tissue. You could cut them out if you want. I've also cut a new bit to go up there, because I think I want that bit of the head, the black on the head, to go further. So I keep looking at my drawing and trying to work out what are the right shapes. So that's going to be the pattern at the front of the beak. And it's okay to put more tissue paper on. The more tissue and glue you put on, the harder it'll be when it dries. And I think you can see down there I've cut out an eye. So maybe I'll put a bit of glue where the eye's going to go. The eye needs to go there. I'm going to put that on there. There we go. So there's my toucan's eye. I've still got other things to do. I wanted to get a bit more white down here, and I could put some orange on the beak, but I also just want to show you the legs now. So I hope you're going to be able to get something like this, but I have some pieces of wire. This is a bit like garden wire. You might have some garden wire in your shed, or people use it for plants and things. I got some lengths cut like this. This is good wire because it's strong, but it's fairly easy to bend. But you might need help with this. But I've bent it in half. So I've made a leg like that with a bit of a claw. So I've bent it in half, and I'm going to give it three claws, 3 fingers, like this. So you might need someone to help you. It depends how strong your wire is and how strong you are. But if you can do something like that and get 3 fingers and then twist it round, this is a bit different. You can see what I did there and what I did here. But it's just quite nice if you've got a foot, a claw, and then a bit left over, so I could fold that this way, couldn't I? And it's quite nice if it can be folded over, doubled up. I think that's going to make it stronger. And then this one I'm going to find somewhere fairly far down the body. I might use a scissors. And I'm going to make a hole, and that's going to go in there. It's going to be 1 foot. Now that's not going to stay there unless it gets hold of something. So I'll need to tape it first. I don't know if you can see, but everything I'm doing is a bit wet. So this might not work, but I'll show you what I would try and do to give you an idea. So there's one leg. Let me put the other one in. There we go. This one isn't very good. But I'm taping it in place, and then I will strengthen that tape with some more of the tissue and glue. There you go. It's not brilliant, but you get the idea. So what have I got left to do? I've got to finish off attaching the feet, sort out the length of the legs, do a bit more to the tail. Then I could put other colours on, white on his bib and orange onto his beak. So I'm going to pause again and do a little bit more and then show you my almost finished toucan.
Still have 4 or 5 years that has been taken away from them. No, so yeah, we lost someone who's old, so they were about. Exactly, the idea that they're in death's door, but it does mean that woman, someone at 84, does have a reasonable chance of dying in the next year, and it's quite likely that getting the disease might double that chance. This is the whole idea that this is the disease is a relative risk. It probably doubles your chance of dying in a year, and that doubling for someone who's 80 or 90 is very important indeed. But for someone who's much younger, in their teens or 20s, is actually trivial. Because you're doubling a very low risk. You're double a very low number. It's still a very low number. Just to finish it as briefly as you can, ridiculously as briefly as you can, I just wonder where you are on the lockdown and how rigid and how extreme it needs to be, and the debate over how much we can live. Not my job. I'm not an epidemic modeler. I don't do that. The one thing I could say is that I do hope that when the measures come in, that they're more sophisticated than just a one shielded group and everybody else treated the same, because the risk levels vary so much between. My age dominates it, but of course there are other. Sorry, wait. So what's this? You want there to be sort of gradations? I would love it. Yes, I would love it if they not just traffic lights, red, orange, green, but even 5 categories or something like that, which were different risk categories. It's so complicated getting to do different things. Because we've got the extremely clinically vulnerable and the clinically vulnerable, and that has already caused some confusion about 70s, are they extreme or? Well, I mean, I think the fit over 70s are going to be extreme in their not wanting to be treated as old and frail. And you'd be with us on that, because you'd say they're but if I was 71, I would be pretty cross at being told I've got to keep myself locked up for a long time for my own good. Now, it's another matter, of course, to try to protect the community, but the idea of me being locked up for my own good, I would feel pretty miffed about it. So we might, just to finish, you might say, this is the risk you're taking, and you must make that decision. X, Y, Z. I would hope there's a degree of self-allocation depending on your risk appetite. And of course, as long as the NHS isn't be overwhelmed, because then if you get sick, you're affecting what happens to me if I get sick. That goes without saying. It is such a pleasure to talk to you, David. Thank you so very much. Now, in Wales, pending to Prestatyn, almost the entire coastline is littered with tourist spots, and usually businesses will be gearing up for a population influx. But as we've been hearing, message stay at home, with police now able to issue fines for those trying to visit their second homes. Our correspondent, Thomas Morgan, has been to the seaside town of Porthcawl. I've been coming to Porthcawl for years with family, and even during midweek, the thoroughfare would usually be bustling this time of year when the sun's out like it has been this week. Now though, it's just the sound of closed shutters. There's
nobody in the slot machines in the arcades, the rides are shut, and nobody's buying ice cream.
Kind of like zombie apocalypse, really. This is nobody here.
Quorum champion Sir School and Hire Shop is one of the many closed businesses here on Coney Beach. This was supposed to be the time for him to start making money again after the fallow winter months.
Easter this year would have been fantastic. The sun was shining, we had waves, the people, we had bookings already for surf lessons. We had to cancel everything. We got through that, we come now to the May bank holidays, and we're still closed. There's nothing, we got great weather on the horizon for the bank holidays. It's real days. All the mist goes on, things may not reopen. Yeah, definitely. I'm fearful now.
Dad?
Yeah.
Around the headland of Coney Beach is one of the largest holiday caravan parks in the area.
What?
Just
No.
round up to
Do you think that? Stainless steel?
That's lovely. How much?
Or
caravans right on the seafront here.
aluminium alloy?
Uh-huh.
Which one?
Oh, sorry. Let's go back again.
Aluminium alloy,
Yeah.
dark.
So same price actually. Just
Yeah.
you're just
Aluminium alloy, dark.
yeah.
Visit Britain believe that
Stainless steel,
tourism could lose at least
shiny.
£15 billion due to the pandemic.
I'd probably go for
Picturesque
aluminium
coastlines,
alloy.
beautiful mountain ranges and unique rural retreats, Wales could be one of the worst hit
That-
areas across the
Yeah.
UK. The industry here accounts for around
Okay,
6%.
good. So you've got Mary sent me 30.
The further west and northwest you go, the economic reliance on holiday
Inky and
makers
Farrow
is
sent
greater.
50.
So, holiday homes have been a hot topic
You don't owe me
Wales since
anything.
these protocols
Yeah,
began.
Because I've got Inky and Farrow's 50 and 50 for Ricardo's bike. Right, so I owe you 30.
But Mom said she was going to give me 50 for you guys. Which
Okay.
that's
So no, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
No,
So
sorry,
no. So I owe you 30 from
that
Mary,
would be fair,
and you
because I
don't owe
made a
me.
decision to stay here. If the police
And
come,
50 from
I would
Mary.
explain that I've given my other
You
home
don't
to the
get it.
Airbnb and
Eight.
the
So I owe you
NHS.
80 pounds.
And if they insisted,
And then-
then I would have to,
Which,
pay
if I buy this for you,
the NHS wouldn't
Yeah.
be able to
I
use
don't
my
have
own.
to.
The Welsh government say that those already in their second homes prior to the lockdown can stay. Sending them home, they say, may pose greater risk than leaving them where they are. But with great weather expected again this bank holiday weekend, it's concerned that people's resolve may wane and rules will be broken.
When they come to their second homes, if they stay here for a prolonged period of time, which was, naturally placing extra strain on local services, such as the NHS.
2 weeks yesterday, Dr. Neil Hughes was the protagonist behind sending a letter signed by 15 of Wales's other leading clinicians, urging the Welsh government to ban second-home usage.
I think an individual's right to
Okay,
enjoy property.
Mum said get it off John Lewis, but they don't have it.
Contract this virus.
Okay, we just must make sure that we shut down my Amazon
The right
One Touch Pay.
Do you think I should add accidental cover?
here to have the right to be protected.
I
The
wouldn't
First
really.
Minister
It's not
has
worth it.
strengthened regulations since to deter people from going to this.
I got it on my earphones because I thought I'd use them and it cost me an extra £2.
Right.
But it's going to cost me 30 on this. That's all right.
Yeah. Oh, definitely not. I think so many insurances are just such.
But I can tell you now that £60
I don't know.
is not enough.
Such
Well,
a
It's a
con.
gamble for the insurance, isn't it?
If they want
It
to
is.
go down that
Insurance
route,
is
but
a
even
gamble.
higher than that. So
Everybody.
I'm talking about 4 figures at least.
Mark Drakeford, the First Minister, says that allowing people back to holiday homes across Wales will
Okay.
not be part of the first phase of easing restrictions. He believes his measures are working. They're proportionate and sympathises with struggling businesses.
Sympathises.
Bye.
Okay. Bye bye.
We think we've taken measures that are proportionate to the problem and can be enforced by the police. If we get back though for tourism as a whole in Wales, and tough as it is for them, and there will be some businesses that won't survive all of this. They know it's not right to open up that part of Wales for visitors to come in, or the virus to start to spread. Those businesses would have to shut down again.
As the wind picks up here in Porthcawl, so do the waves. It's perfect surfing weather. Just not right now for Quorum or for anybody else wanting to give it a try.
Thomas Cook